impression and whose memories are carved on your hearts. And he was nothing but our founder of this institution, led President Motibhau Kotecha. We salute him and we revise the memories of our honorable late President Motibhau Kotecha. He, along with his team, started this college in 1984. Nowadays, we can look towards the progressive graph of the institution. We successfully completed 3 cycles of NAAC accreditation, and in the 3rd cycle, we acquired B+ grade with the score 2.53. In this campus, efforts are taken for the overall development of students by motivating them to participate in the various activities like Avishkar, Yuva Rang, debate competition, elocution competition, quiz competition, and so on. Also, the students are motivated to participate in various cultural and sports activities. Teachers are also updated themselves by participating in various conferences, seminars, workshops, and so many activities. The institute organizes various activities, national and international conferences, seminars, and today's national conference is nothing but one of the initiatives taken by the Department of Botany and Zoology. Friends, all of us aware about that the technology is a great industry which had led to the improvement of a human lifestyle and the world at large, but it has also detrimental effects on the environment and also on living organisms due to the high pollution and increased human activities. It is a daunting task to save, to protect the environment and balance the biological lives on the earth, along with testing the fruits of a technological improvement for the betterment of a human life. Hence, it is a today's need to discuss a newly emerging trends in an environment and biological sciences. We hope this national conference will provide a brainstorming platform for scientists, researchers, academicians, and industry persons from various places of the country to discuss recent trends in environment and biological sciences. To give a brief introduction and outline the today's event, I now call upon the organizing secretary of this conference, Dr. Meena Chaudhary ma'am.
Thank you, madam. Good morning. It is a great pleasure and honor to welcome the president of this function, our principal, Dr. Namang Sabadra, madam, chief guest, Dr. Kishore Pawar, sir, and convener of this conference, Dr. J.S. Dande, sir. All the delegates with open heart in this national conference on recent trends in environment and biological sciences 2022. At very outset, let me congratulate all of you for surviving through the rough and tough times of COVID pandemic. In this period, our daily routines was affected very seriously, but we have shown that the strength to bounce back to our work. Keeping the present pandemic situation in mind, Botany and Zoology Department of our college organized this national conference on recent trends in environment and biological sciences 2022 in virtual mode. Every day we are racing towards the discovering new ways of understanding, controlling, eliminating zoonotic diseases lifestyle diseases, aging, food problems, xenobiotic diseases, and many others by involving different disciplines of environment and biological sciences. We can say that the environment and biological sciences are the sciences of the future. So, we decided to organize a conference related with recent trends in environment and biological sciences with prime objective to discuss the emerging trends related with environment and biological sciences and developing attitude towards the sustainable development. We strongly believe that the topic chosen for this conference is very high significance and need in all aspects of the society. For this, I would like to give my sincere gratitude to KBC North Maharashtra University, Jalgaon, for providing us opportunity to organize RTEBS-2022 and extending their financial support and guidance to make the dream of organizing this conference come true. Friends, we hope the conference will provide an excellent opportunity to all the participants, academicians, and scholars to learn about the latest technological development and quench the thirst of information seekers from all over the country. Friends, today we have three personalities with high esteem as resource persons of this conference, and their aura will speak volume of their knowledge and experience. Innovator of this conference, Dr. Kishore Pawar sir, presently working as Registrar of KBC North Maharashtra University, Jalgaon. Keynote speaker, Dr. Masto Madam, superannuated as Principal, Government College, Bikaner, Rajasthan. Dr. Geeta Padate Madam, Professor from Maharaja Sayarao University, Baroda, Vadodara. And Dr. Sheetal Basi Madam, Professor in Microbiology from Maharaja Ranjit Singh University, Indore. I know we all are excited about all the amazing conversations that we are going to have today. Hence, without taking more time, I would like to thank all of you for overwhelming response to our invitation from the different states of the India, including Assam, Bihar, Jammu Kashmir, Rajasthan, MP, and many others. Thank you very much. With these words, I end my introductory speech. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Friends, today is a great day for us. We have a dynamic personality whose aura speaks volume of his knowledge, as Meena Chaudhary ma'am told us. Now, as we know that we experience a lighted lamps not speak. It introduces itself through its light. Achievers never express themselves, but their achievement expresses one of the achiever is with us here today. And he is nothing but Dr. Kishore Pawar, the officiating registrar of North Maharashtra, Kavayatri Bahinabai Chaudhary, North Maharashtra University, Jalgaon. Friends, I will take the opportunity to introduce this achiever. Dr. Kishore Pawar. Dr. Kishore Pawar is he is working as an associate professor in the Kavayatri Bahinabai Chaudhary, North Maharashtra University, Jalgaon, in the Department of Mathematics. He pursued the PhD from the same university. He has a long teaching experience of 18 years. The major area of research is smearing theory and ternary smearing and radical theory. He is nothing but he is felicitated with the awards and fellowships. He is the first qualified NetSet qualified student of the mathematics department of North Maharashtra University. He presented a paper on a radical class of semi-rings in a C.V. Raman Memorial Seminar, which was held on 20th February 2007. And friends, he received the Best Paper Presentation Award for that paper presentation. He is also nominated for a Best Teacher Award by Honorable Vice Chancellor for the 2011-12. Under his guidance, 2 students acquired the PhD degree and 2 students are working under his supervision for the PhD degree. He published the various research articles in reputed journals. His 8 journals are published in national and international reputed journals with a high H index and I index. Now he presented the papers, research papers in various numbers of the national, international and national conferences. He completed successfully a research project and he collaborated his collaborative work with the head of the Department of Mathematics from the University of Mumbai. It is one of the more achievement of the Department of Mathematics from the North Maharashtra University. Although he has membership from the Indian Mathematics Society, he also chaired the various administrative posts at the university as in charge of a PG and UG Gymkhana. He is a coordinator of a central training placement cell of the university. He also played, he is a sportsman, he is a sports person, and he is a team member of a cricket team of a North Maharashtra University. He explored his sportsmanship through this teamwork. Friends, as he achieved so many activities through the university, North Maharashtra University, and today he is acting as a officiating registrar of Kavayatri Bahinabai Chaudhary, North Maharashtra University, Jalgaon. And we are so much glad and happy to see here on this dais. Thank you. I request our today's president, our principal ma'am, Dr. Mangala Sabadra ma'am, to felicitate this knowledgeable personality, Dr. Kishore Pawar sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Friends, now I invite our organizing secretary to felicitate and welcome our principal ma'am, Dr. Mangala Sabadra ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. I invite I invite Dr. to welcome Dana personally, Vice Principal Dr. J. Dhanvi sir. And one more sports personality in this hall, and our vice principal, YD Desley sir. I request Jayesh Dhande sir to welcome YD Desley sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now, I will request all the dignitaries on the dais to garland the goddess Saraswati and lightening the samai to take the blessings of the goddess Saraswati. Ya Devi Bhuteshu Shakti Rupena Sthita Namastastai 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Vidyarupena Samsthita Namastasai 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Samsthita Namastasai 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 Namo Namaha Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Sharada Rupena Samsthita Namastasai 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 Namo Namaha Namastasai 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 Namo Namaha. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Friends, hereupon we are waiting for the knowledgeable words from our guest. I request Dr. Kishore Pawar sir to for his inaugural address. His inaugural address. Welcome, sir.
Good friends. I think it is. May I start? Good morning, friends. Actually, I'm very honored to be part of this conference. First of all, I'm very much thankful to principal of this college, Sabadra Madam, for inviting me. The members on the dais, the convener of this conference, Dhande sir, the next Meena Chaudhary Madam, and the participants who are presenting virtually for this conference. Being inaugurator, let me inaugurate this conference that it is wide open for all the participants, and I wish grand success to the conference. Actually, this I prepared. Being a man of mathematics, it is quite difficult for me to talk on this very vast subject, which is matter of the environmental science and biological science. Today, environmental degradation is a matter of great concern. In the name of development, we have consumed our natural resources ruthlessly and polluted our atmosphere. As per my opinion, scarcity of water, increasing levels of water level of air pollution, and global warming are some common issues of which pose a great threat to the environment. The speed with which we are consuming our natural resources and polluting our environment is really a matter of concern. Today, the environmental issues have become the greatest concern for the whole world. With the Industrial Revolution, the global warming has become the issue of concern. It has become more influential in the developing countries like India. And the reason behind it is only agenda of development. The demands for natural resources will increase day by day as the pollution increases in the demand of consuming natural resources also increases. Our environment is the natural world, and our environment is filled with land, air, trees, water, animals, etc. This environment we were given in heritage and given in the correct position with clear and healthy water. Pure air is gift from our universe, land and abundant natural resources. However, man is harming this beautiful environment in the name of industrialization and urbanization. He is cutting trees, plants in millions of acres of forest. They have established manufacturing units on the banks of life-giving rivers. These manufacturing monsters stimulate these toxic fumes in the atmosphere, whose air and breathe all humans, animal breathes. In the greed to earn more profit, humans lose their toxic waste before treating them in the rivers, lakes, oceans, etc. He ignores the most important fact of the preserving the purity of environment. The shocking truth is that our environment has caused irreparable damage to human negligence. The sole hope of the existence of the planet lies in the honoring the planet, its environment, ecology, animals, plants, and trees. Worship the environment we live in. Otherwise, the RTEBS is waiting for us. We all have to make environmental protection our first priority. Then we will go ahead and able to restore it. Lastly, we should revise our development strategies. When we modify or use natural resources, there should be no harm to the environment. We must adopt the principles of sustainable development. Only then we will save the environment and our existence. This was very technical talk that I have given, but from this conference, what I expect or means the big problem that you are discussing in this conference, maybe some papers will be presented in this conference, and outcome that the society is expected that some fruitful solutions will come by this conference so that the whole society will be benefited. I heartily congratulate Madam and to the college that they have collected this particular issue so that the fruitful discussion will be there in the conference and we will have good output from this conference so that the environmental and biological sciences get benefited, how we can remove, how we can overcome the issues that have come up by that globalization and environmental defects. Okay, thank you very much for calling me for this conference. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your deep knowledge. Sir, as a mathematician, you calculated the biological issues very nicely. And your views on this subject will definitely guide us, and we will move forward for the in this sessions. Friends, hereafter, I will call upon today's president, our honorable principal, Dr. Mangala Sabadra ma'am. She is a motivator for this campus. She is a fountainhead of all activities which are performing in this campus. I'm requesting Dr. Mangala Sabadra ma'am for her presidential address. Ma'am.
Thank you. Hello. 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 Respected dignitaries on the dais, a very brave man of mathematics, Dr. Kishore Pawarji. Why I said brave? He has accepted a challenge as a registrar of the North Maharashtra University in such a situation. So I would like to congratulate him, first of all, on behalf of my institution. And he just accepted my words and ready to come to this campus, with small campus in his busy schedule. The organizer of this conference, Dr. Meena Chaudhary, she was taking her efforts from last 1 week very hard. We just wanted to know the output of this today, but before that, they have a net practice. Being a cricketer is sitting here, so I use the words as a net practice. At the same time, Dr. Dhande, who is a real motivator of this campus, who is performing the different activities to sustain the environment in the institution. And the offline participant, dignitaries, and online, my teachers, colleagues, students, and friends. I, as a principal of this college, would like to welcome you all for this academic gathering on behalf of Srimati P.K. Kotecha Mahila Mahavidyalaya. At the same time, I would like to thank Kaviyatri Bahinabai, Uttar Maharashtra Vidyapit, to provided us, to motivate us by giving some sort of financial support so we could have success to organize this event. Right now, the registrar has given a speech. I was listening him very carefully. And we, as a North Maharashtra University, has blessed from the inception of the university, the great mathematician, who are the great poets also, Dr. N.K. Thackeray. So the way when he was talking, we never realized, sir, he is a man of mathematics. Or any mathematician which I had seen from the North Maharashtra University, they are not they just seems like a literature people. The subject which we had choose, because we all are worried regarding the deteriorate health of the environment and biological sciences. 6.9 billion population till today. Till 2050, it will go 9.6 billion. We have a limited resources. We have a unlimited people on the earth who are utilizing these resources. Sir, I feel that we have a rights to organize such an institution, because my faculties, my teacher and my students are always take caring of that. In our campus, we have a water harvesting, not from today, sir. It is from last 30 years. We just preserve the water in our well and utilize it at the temperature of 48 degrees, so we can see the greenery at all time in campus. We are doing the regular tree plantation in this campus, which you can see when you entered in this campus. We have a solar energy plant in our campus, which we'd like to give the message. We have a separate nursery tree plantation. We are making the nursery and we are selling that plants also, whosoever is needed. And we just do this all activities through our students. So what I'm saying here, we first of all doing this work for the campus. And I feel really proud to share with you that we have a vermicompost plant in this campus from last 10 years. And whatever the leaves are collected here, we are utilizing in the same time. We are not burning into the college campus, which we had started first, and then we are conducting this conference. We have only one planet to live and survive. We have limited space and limited food and the limited shelter. With our population, we are facing with many other problems, like, as already explained, pollution, global warming. All the time we were listening, earthquake, water, the situation is not good. Even in western countries, there are all the time snowfall, monsoon. All this change of situations is arising so rapidly. Waste of disposal, loss of biodiversity, all and such many issues are always there. If we come using the natural resources like we do today, a day will come when our own grandchildren will not have a home to live on this earth. So we need to consider it today itself. It is a time to ponder on this fact seriously, and we should discuss it into the academic gathering. We would like to think to act upon recent trends, likewise increase in renewable energy sources, reduction in energy consumption, regeneration, which is an important part, regenerative agriculture and relationship to the plastics. We come to know nowadays, recently, there will be a vertical plants growth, rapidly growing. What is the reason behind that? That is environment protection. And we are creating the more crops in a small places, because we know that in the 1950, there will not be earth to live. So where we are doing all these things. Relationship with the plastics and human waste management, conservation of biodiversity and many other trends which are raising very rapidly on the earth. Hence, this conference mainly will aims to discuss and share the knowledge on recent trends on environmental sciences and biological sciences to develop the attitude of the sustainable development. Here, the word more important is attitude. In the one-day conference, we cannot change the tomorrow world. But slowly, when we have a gathering of the students here, teachers here, young academicians are there, young researchers are there. So they will convey this message to the next generation people. So this way we can spreading. We are just trying to spread this message to the society. We hope this conference will give you the more interactive benefit, and on the behalf of this institution, I would like to give you my best wishes for the great success. At the same time, sir, most of the participants, normally we used to do the conference on this national level, but 1 or 2 persons from the national level and rest of the thing in your area only. But this time, sir, we are purposefully trying the teachers and the participants and even the resources from different part of the countries. If we are really attending this by intellectually and physical presence, we will definitely, as you had expected from us, this college will provide you some sound output through this, and we can give you the report with you for this, sir. Thank you. And once again, I would like to welcome all of you, and I'll take.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Friends, hereupon I will call Dr. Jayesh Dhande, sir, for the vote of thanks of this annual session.
Good morning, friends. Honorable President of today's function, respected Chief Guest, Dr. Kishore Pawar, and our host person, that is the Vice Principal, ladies and gentlemen. I am feeling very proud to have been a proposed vote of thanks on the inaugural session of this conference. I am really very much thankful to Kavitri Bahanabai Chaudhary, North Master City, Jalgaon, for all humbleness as a generosity that actually acknowledge the proposal of conference and also made available funds that able to organize our event properly as well as a grand success. I also wish to express and take opportunity my deep regards to our principal, Major Dr. Mangal Sabadra, as well as today's president, for being a constant motivator and guiding force in all the individuals, as well as to excel in a field of the education. I wish to express my heartfelt gratitude to today's immediate inaugurator, Dr. Kishore Pawar, Registrar Kavitri Bahanabai Chaudhary, North Maharashtra University, Jalgaon, for providing encouragement on today's to all staff as well as the attendees. You have created good spark and gave new insight to think teachers differently in a really noteworthy as well as amazing. I specially thank our vice principals, Dr. J.B. Danvij and Professor Vairi Desle, for their unfailing support and confidence in us. Both are the backbone of our institute and they are guiding force everyone to step forward. I extend my hearty vote of thanks to speakers for gracing your important work as well as sharing with us findings as well as opinions in today's conference in a next sessions. My deep sense of thanks to appreciation goes to all the participants who were registered this webinar, as well as great enthusiasm made today's event success in a short period. The diligence of my own thoughts, as well as interpretation of everything, I would need to mention my deep sense of appreciation. I thank the teaching staff within the organization of this festival. I also want to thank our technical staff and the stage arranging team who have give the technical support to the conference and make this event wonderful ahead. I cannot thank everyone enough for their hard work to completion of tasks behind their comfort zone. I express my thanks to all the persons on the stage who were helped directly or indirectly to make this success of this event. Lastly, I'm sorry, those are forgotten by me, but we must take their cognition. Thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you, Dhande sir. Dear participants, with this, we come to the end of this inaugural session. And this session will be followed within 5 minutes by the next session of a keynote address by Dr. Meera Srivastava. Within 5 minutes, we will proceed towards the next session.
World Water Day.
Participants, now Dr. Meera Srivastava, she is with us. Ma'am, on the behalf of this, yes, are you there, ma'am?
Yes, I am there. Good morning. And may I start to share my screen so that I know whether the slides are visible and am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
So I'm
Yes.
sharing my screen so that you may let me know if that's okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, it's visible. Okay, dear participants, we will now proceed for the first keynote address by Dr. Meera Srivastava. Friends, I profusely elated to take an opportunity to introduce today's keynote speaker, Dr. Meera Srivastava. Ma'am, Meera Srivastava ma'am has superannuated as a principal from the Government College,
Loonkaran sir.
Langsansar, Bikaner, Rajasthan, India. She served in the Department of Law, Government College, Bikaner for 30 years and has put in over 30 years of postgraduate teaching and research in the field of law, especially entomology, besides ship and camel. She has been convener, Board of Studies in Zoology, and a member Academic Council, MGS University, Bikaner, and presently is a member of Academic Council, IASC University, Sardar Shahar member, Sardar Shahar. She is a member Academic Council and Research Board Tantia University, Sri Ganganagar. In the panel of examiners at the number of universities and VC nominees in the selection committee of the different colleges. Her work's potential is very great. She, under her guidance, 24 scholars, research scholars awarded the MPhil degree, and 18 research scholars acquired their PhD degree under her supervision. And 3 students are now working under her guidance. Now, she has contributed to over 190 research publications published in the journals of national and international reputed journals. She has presented more than 100 conferences and has visited United Kingdom, France, Scotland, Italy, Thailand, and so many countries. She visited and shared her knowledge and gathered the new ideas from there. She has also been online keynote speaker for various national and international conferences. She has also shouldered responsibility of being joint organizing secretary in the International Conference on the Advance in Ecological Research. She is also worked as a co-chairperson in the International Conference of Emerging Frontiers Challenges in Radiation Biology. Also, she chaired the co-convener seat in the 4th International Science Congress. Ma'am, you are the fellow and a life member of a different academic bodies and is a member of an editorial board of 22 different national and international journals. Besides this, she has been recipient of over 22 distinguished awards and honors. We salute you, ma'am. And now, ma'am, with this much introduction with to the participants here, I will request you, the dais is yours, and we're waiting for your knowledgeable words. Meera Srivastav, ma'am.
Thank you so much. It was such a lovely and a long, elaborate introduction. But anyhow, thank you so very much. Good morning, each and everyone. Honorable Dr. Kishore Pawar sir, Registrar and the Chief Guest of this National Conference. Dr. Mangla ma'am, Principal and President of the Conference. Organizing Secretary, Dr. Meena Chowdhury. All the other dignitaries present offline and online, of course, scientists, researchers, faculty members, research scholars, students, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to give my presentation. Each one of us is definitely concerned with the environment. And so the theme of the conference is very apt, that is recent trends in environment and biological sciences. Actually, while I was listening to the speech given by the principal, I was highly impressed by the steps which are being taken up by the college. It's really very highlighting and enlightening as well. So I congratulate the college authorities for taking care, so much care, and being concerned about the environment in such a good way. As we all know that we need food that for our survival, and it is generally an agricultural produce. And to increase this produce, we have been indiscriminately employing the pesticides, which actually, of course, is improving the produce in a way, but the other aspect is it has resulted in various hazards. So looking into the theme of the conference, I thought of talking on pesticides, its impact on environment, and suggesting some safe alternates. And the topic of my deliberation today is pesticides impact on environment and botanicals as safe alternates. So because everyone is concerned, we should know what actually the impact of the pesticides are. This is one major hazard because pesticides are being used I would just, while discussing and talking in my deliberation, I'll show you all how much it is being used and what are its impact on various aspects, and why it is now high time we should decide upon the use of some safe alternate. So as we all know that agrochemicals are chemicals which have been basically used or were thought of to improve the quantity and quality of food, to include synthetic fertilizers. These are fertilizers, hormones, growth regulators, and many such chemicals. But basically it is the pesticides, which are the agrochemicals which are used for the purpose. They can be regarded as useful, we all know, because of their ability to kill those disease-causing organisms and control insects, weeds, and other pests. And they've resulted in definitely a good income for the farmers through high crop yield. They have given job opportunities to workers in the agrochemical manufacturing companies. And definitely the small farmers, they use these pesticides, or rather we must say insecticides, because they are cost effective, easily available, and display a wide spectrum of bioactivity. Now, if you define what is a pesticide, it's any substance or mixture of substance intended for, or it is meant for destroying or controlling insects or any pest, vectors of humans. Now, this whole definition I would not read out, but this is the definition which is given by FAO for any pesticide. When we talk about pesticide, according to their use, they can be classified as insecticides, acaricides, herbicides, avicides, fungicides, nematicides, molluscides, rodenticides, and so on, depending upon where they are being used. But majority ones are the insecticides, which are basically used for the control of insects. As we all know that agriculture contributes to 16 to 18% of the gross domestic product, that is the GDP of Indian economy. It's a agriculture-based country, ensuring food security for more than 1.38 billion Indian population. This has risen still more. Agrochemicals, they play an important role here in agriculture. And most importantly, since the Green Revolution in 1966, which started in India, the application of these chemicals increased more than 100 times and causing a definite loss to the environment and human health. 50% of the workforce, mind it, 50% of the workforce is associated with agricultural practices. Synthetic pesticides for the use, they include several groups of compounds like the organochlorines, organophosphates, carbamates. There's a long list of chemicals which are used as insecticides. And the first estimate was made in 1973 by the WHO, the World Health Organization, which suggested so many cases of acute serious pesticide poisoning which occurred annually. Mind it, these estimates included only the hospitalized cases of unintentional poisoning, excluding the suicide attempts. Now, these were not in the list. So this is the number, such a high number. The estimate by a WHO task group indicate that there may be 1 million unintentional poisoning each year, and in addition, 2 million people who attempt suicide with pesticides. Now, this is the scenario. Looking into the global level of agrochemical consumption, you can see the two pie diagrams, one showing the use in the world, where Asia Pacific shows 25%, it's being used here. And the second diagram shows 65% are the insecticides around the globe. So 65% insecticides, that's the use, other than other chemicals, which are fungicides and herbicides and others. Now, this is the crop-wise consumption with respect to the globe, and India with reference to India. They are used on all the crops, including vegetables, pulses, wheat, rice. So all the consumable food which we, of course, cotton it is 45%, which is not directly eaten but consumed. But the other things like vegetable, pulses, wheat, rice, every crop is being treated and with the pesticides. Now, see the scenario. India is the 4th position as far as this is produced after USA, Japan, and China. And the Indian pesticide industry is the biggest in Asia and the 12th in the world. Can you imagine how much pesticides are we producing? Domestic consumption is 39,000 metric tons. And according to a survey conducted by the International Crops Research Institute, the ICRISAT, 93% of Indian farmers use only chemicals to control the insect pest, and crop receive between 1 to 15% pesticide spray prior to the harvest. So this is the condition. Now see the volume of pesticide produced across India. This was a recent trend in 2021, although it was less, but till 20, it was about 192,000 metric tons. This is the latest information which was available with regards to the use of insecticides. Now 60% of insecticides is used here in our country. This is the latest. Now this is the consumption of chemical pesticides in India. The latest report which was available to me, we are consuming about 52,000 tons in the 16-17, although the present the data is not available, but yes, it ranges between 50 to 60. This is the way our farmers, they employ the chemicals. They don't have any masks on, they don't have any other safeguards for safety. This is the way the chemicals are being used and employed. So definitely a very sad state of affair. Now, pesticides, as we all know, are toxic by design. They are actually the biocides designed to kill or reduce and repel insects, weeds, rodents, and so on and so forth. And by their very nature, they create some risk or harm to the human, to the animal, to the environment. As per the classification of WHO, they are classified under 4 heads. Now, extremely hazardous, highly hazardous, moderately hazardous, slightly hazardous. Now, say the term hazardous is there with all the 4 categories. So, may it be extremely, may it be slightly, but definitely they are hazardous. The environmental impact of pesticides would definitely be on air, water, soil, animals, human beings. Impact on water, if we talk about, the residue in water can cause serious pollution of groundwater and surface water and may result in death of the water organisms, change in the properties of water, its odor, that's the smell, the taste, negative effect on the process of oxygen formation by the phytoplanktons, the small plants which are found in the water bodies, and the vital activities of the inhabitants of the water ecosystem will definitely be altered by and or changed. Now see, this is the latest report by the US Geological Survey, the USGS, which monitors ground and surface waters for 76 pesticides and 7 pesticide breakdown products. And what the survey showed, this is about this year only, they found that 90% of the streams and 50% of the wells in the United States were positive for at least 1 pesticide. So this is not only in our country, but it's around the globe. Even in the US, this is the scenario. Impact on soil, pesticides may get into the soil in the form of the residues contained in the leaves and plants, and depending on the conditions, the poisonous chemicals may remain in the soil for long and retain the toxicity for more or less a prolonged time. Now, persistent use of pesticides can thoroughly undermine the productivity and destroying the microorganism and nutrients that nourish the crops. This decreases agricultural productivity of land and makes it very harmful and resulting in the desertification. We talk about the impact due to presence in the air of the pesticides. This in case of human, if we talk about, it may cause respiratory illness, including chronic bronchitis, asthma, eye burning, irritation of nose, coughing, headache, it causes cherry lips, and they become red, unconsciousness, and death by asphyxiation, and lot of other things. There can be many more symptoms of pesticidal poisoning. If we talk about the pesticide defects and classify them under 2 broad categories, there would be the acute effects which appear immediately or very soon after exposure to the pesticides, and the chronic effects which may manifest themselves many years later after its origin and are often difficult to trace. So we don't understand why, because it's a chronic, it's after so many years they come into existence. So sometimes it is difficult to establish the fact that this is the effect of the pesticides, but now we know for sure that these are the result of the pesticides. Carcinogenic effects, they increase the risk of leukemia, cancers of lung, brain, testicular, lymphoma, so on and so forth. Behavioral effects due to pesticides are very common. Reproductive deficits, that is increased spontaneous abortions, decreased fertility, stillbirths, decreased sperm counts, and of course, all what we talked about just earlier. And now you see, this is just a picture to depict the effect of the pesticides on a human body. No system is safe from the effect of pesticide. The central nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, the hematological and the immune system, the heart and the cardiovascular system, the endocrine system, the reproductive system. You can see the eyes, ears, nose, throat, respiratory system, gastrointestinal, liver, urinary, and every part of the body can be affected by the use of pesticide. And this is just an impact of human beings we've studied, that definitely there's an impact on the wildlife, on other organisms present in the globe. And we know that through food chain, food web, each organism in the ecosystem has got its worth. The effect of on animals and wildlife, of course, of acute poisoning. These are the reports which are available. The fish kills that are caused by pesticide residues. You can see photographs and reports available in various newspapers and the magazines that the fish kills, and huge number of fishes can be seen lying on the shore being killed by these use of pesticides. Then besides that, the bird die-offs caused by foraging on pesticide-treated vegetation or insects. And chronic poisoning, of course, is exposure of wildlife over an extended period of time. And this has been variously demonstrated by the use of DDT and other organochlorine pesticides, just such as dieldrin and so on, and chlordane, which have been implicated in the bird mortality resulting from chronic exposure. So these are the examples, and we have seen these cases. Each one of us is familiar with these cases. And then besides the acute and the chronic, there are indirect effects because of the presence and the food chain and food web, which are the food chain, that is one animal or one organism consumes the other, and then it passes on in the chain and in the food web to other organisms, right from the plants to the animals of at the higher level. For instance, the herbicides may reduce food, the cover and nesting sites needed by insect, bird, and other animal populations. The insecticides may diminish insect population fed on by bird or fish species. Insect pollinators may be reduced, thereby affecting the plant pollination. So these are some indirect effects which are definitely there. Now, a very significant finding. Now, this is a working group, environmental working group. And every year since 2004, this Consumer Health Watchdog, it's an American activist group. It releases a shopper's guide to pesticides and produce. And it shows 12 most pesticide contaminated foods and vegetables. Now, for the year 2021, now you see the strawberries. These are most contaminated with pesticides. See the list of the fruit, the vegetables and fruits contaminated with pesticides. The strawberries stand number 1. Then the spinach, then the kale or the collard, the nectarines, the apples, the grapes, the cherries, the peaches, the pears, bell and the hot peppers, the celery, the tomatoes. So these are the 12 highly ranked with showing the presence of at least one pesticide, but there could be many more. There could be a few more, not many more, but a few more, maybe 2 to 3 pesticides on these produce. This is the information of from the US. When we talk about the impact, and because I'm a student of zoology, and with the theme of the conference is the environment and biological sciences, and I'm one associated with biological sciences, I'm basically an entomologist dealing with the study of insects, and of course, zoology. So my specialization is entomology. So I was just wanting to talk about the impact which the pesticides has on the animals and of course the insects. So when we talk about the two major reasons of threatened and endangered species of animals and of course insects internationally or globally, definitely shrinking habitats, which each one of us, even in our initial speech, the registrar sir and the principal, they talked about what we are harming the environment, we are cutting the trees, we are not producing, we are not giving the proper habitats, and that is why the animal life and the human life is being affected. So shrinking habitats is definitely one reason, but the second major reason is the increased use of pesticides and of course some other agrochemicals. As per reports available, we have already lost many insects and animal species are at the verge of extinction. So we have already lost many and many are at the verge of extinction. This is a matter of great concern. And of course, we are concerned. But as Principal Madam was talking about, she said that attitude is necessary. So we need to actually enlighten ourselves. Yes, now this is the need of the time. We should take care. We should be aware. We should be concerned, and just not concerned in our thoughts, in our action also. We need to enact now that what can be done, what we should do, how we should take care of this environment. So undoubtedly, we know that pesticides have significantly reduced the biodiversity. Just to show you all a glimpse of few extinct insect and animal species, mind it, these are a few photographs, those which have been impacted by the pesticides. Now, this is the beautiful caliper butterfly. We have lost it. This is again a nice butterfly, Aglaas, which we have lost. Ergnes, bombus. This is again a bombus, the carpenter bee, ephemera. This is an odonate. This is a moth, garden tiger moth. Just see the beautiful coloration the nature had given us, but yes, we have lost this butterfly now. Violet click beetle, Ohlone tiger beetle, bay checker spot butterfly, crayfish, California red-legged frog, Houston toads, Wyoming toads, Xenopus flavus, California tiger salamander, Chinese giant salamander, Pterica granulosa, blunt-nosed leopard lizard. Now, because these are actually, they eat the insects. Indirectly, they have been affected by the pesticides. Atlantic salt marsh snake, giant garter snake, southwestern willow flycatcher, the bald eagle, the sand jack and kit fox. We know, yes, these have been lost. Now we cannot do anything about that. But yes, there are certain endangered species. If now also we take care of them, maybe we may be able to save them. Now, common bluetail, this is an endangered, this is an insect, this is an odonate. The Queen Alexandra birdwing, this is the largest butterfly in the world with a wingspan reaching nearly 10 inches. In the large females, this butterfly is larger than many birds. The Salt Creek tiger beetle, Cicindela. Pepilio, this is again a butterfly. Shaw's swallowtail butterfly. The American burying beetle, this is an endangered species. Skarner blue butterfly is a North American species. This again is an endangered species. And there's a mass disappearance of bee colonies because of the nicotinoids which have been used as pesticides, and we're using the bee population, and which are very important as pollinators. We all know, you can see here with the legs full of pollen in them. So the honeybees are again now endangered. So what can we do? What should we do? What can, so when I've been talking about pesticides, the impact of pesticides, so everyone and each one of you may question me, what are you doing about it? You're talking so much about the harms of pesticides. There are various management strategies, which I would suggest. Now, this is again suggestive. Besides, of course, educating the farmers, we need to educate the farmers that please use minimum pesticides, or if you don't use pesticides, is still better. But of course, take care how to use them, how it can be used in minimum concentration. What are the safe pesticides? Of course, there are some which are safe as well. So what can be used? So we need to educate the farmers. We can use some other management strategies, because when we talk about agriculture, we would say the insects are harming and our crop is being reduced. So we need to use the chemicals to kill them. But then there are so many other methods which can be opted. And by using these methods, we can control and manage the insect. One good method is integrated pest management. I'm not going into the details of all this, but then these are the methods and these are the strategies which can be used. We can use resistant varieties. So farmers can be, they can be given the seeds, they can be provided with that, they go on for the sowing of the resistant varieties, so that there is less of infection by the insects. We can use the biological control methods, which are natural enemies and predators and pathogens can be used for controlling or managing the insects. The sterilization technique, of course, they can be used, but yes, it is a really costly technique. It is not affordable by the farmers, of course, in our country. So, but then there is a technique, which is the sterilization technique, and the use of sex attractants and pheromones. These can be used to safeguard the crops. And although I've enlisted it last, but no, it is not the last. But just because I would be talking in details about it, I have just written it in the last. The use of biopesticides and the botanicals is one which is used here, that is the biopesticides. So the plants possess secondary metabolites. When I talk about the botanicals, means produce a chemical which is being taken from the plants. So these are the natural produce actually. Secondary metabolites are produced by plants, which can be an effective source of insecticides. Now, these can be considered important because these may be safe, and these are rather safe to non-target populations. Non-target here is because we are using the chemicals to target the insects. But what happens is when we are trying to kill the insects, whatever the other impact is, that is on the non-target organisms. So these botanicals are safe to non-target populations. They are biodegradable and eco-friendly. They're safe in handling, cost-effective, easily available. Nearly 350 compounds. Now, there will be many more which have been isolated, having strictly insecticidal properties. These include pyrethrum, nicotine, rotenone, sabadilla, rhinodane, quassia, isobutylamides, acetogenines, citrus limonoids, essential oils, naphthopenones, and so on and so forth. So with this concept, earlier I just raised a question, what I'm doing. So our laboratory of entomology, we took this concept of using the botanicals because the chemicals are posing various health and environmental hazards. We tested the various plants in different forms, and the pest insect which we used was Calosubrucus chinensis, which belongs to the order Coleoptera, and its family is Chrysomelidae. We undertook work on screening of certain plants, that is the botanicals, and worked out its efficacy as a great protectant against the this insect pest, which is Calosubrucus chinensis. Now, this is an insect, and this actually damages the pulses, especially in storage. It deposits its eggs on the grain surface, and when it emerges, it leaves a hole behind and damaged hollow grains. This is a slide showing the male and the female Calosubrucus species. Now, this is the life cycle. I don't think we all are interested in the life cycle, but yes, just to tell you all that the eggs are whitish and elongated, and they're stuck on the grains, and the larvae bores into the grain. So that is how it damages the grain. This is just to show you all, we cultured it on the healthy grains of Vigna radiata. And these are the healthy grains you can see. This is the second slide where you can see white small dots on the grains, and these are actually the eggs which are laid by the pest insect. And the larva which emerges from this egg, it goes inside the grain, and then when the adult emerges, it emerges and leaves such holes. Maybe even in your houses, if you store these pulses for long, you might be able to see these insect pests infesting your storage pulses. So we took this, then we picked up certain plants belonging to family Zygophyllaceae. Why? Because they contain these chemicals, Leguminosae, which is now also called as Fabaceae, plants from Solanaceae, plants from Lamiaceae, and the plants which belong to Zygophyllaceae were Peganum harmela, Phagonia critica, Tribulus terrestris. Belonging to Leguminosae or the Fabaceae were Tephrosia purpurea, Trigonella phenum dracum, Crotalaria buria, Prosopis cineraria, and Prosopis juliflora. And belonging to Solanaceae was Solanum suraten, Solanum nigrum, Videnia somnifera. And with the plants belonging to Lamiaceae were Mentha spicata, Ocimum sanctum, and Ocimum basilicum. The field-grown plants were picked up, washed with distilled water. They were the different parts, that is depending upon if it like Prosopis cineraria and Juliflora trees. So there we could only use the bark and the leaves and fruits. In certain cases where we could take up the whole plant, then there we the different parts, like they were separated, the root as well as the stem, leaves and fruits were separated. So depending upon which plant, it's a herb, it's a shrub, or it's a tree, different parts were taken. These were employed in the form of aqueous suspension, aqueous extract, ether extract, methanol extract, ethanol extract. So these were all succinate extracted. The dose concentration ranged from 1 to 10%. And along with this, because these were experiments were conducted, so normal and control sets with only the solvent were used for comparison purposes. Here the aspect is studied. We definitely studied various aspects, but just talking about a single aspect here, the egg laying or the oviposition by the brucus. And then the statistical analysis was done employing SPSS, ANOVA, analysis of variance. Now the salient findings, I would just talk about the salient findings. That is what these solutions, the formulations which we used, how it affected the oviposition. So see, certain formulations resulted in no oviposition by the pest. So when the eggs was treated by certain formulation, there was no oviposition. That means it stopped, it restricted the oviposition. In many experimental sets, the egg laying by the bouquet was less than, I mean, even if it was less than 10% to 50%, I mean, very low. The aqueous suspension and aqueous extract, also some of the egg laying was significantly brought down, and the formulations of higher concentration. When we talk about the formulation, that means when we talk about whether it was aqueous extract, it was ether extract, and then whether the concentration was 1 or 10%, the higher concentration, that means the 10% were more effective in reducing the oviposition. These are just a few. I could have shown you various graphs, but that was not required. What I'm just trying to tell you is we need to go for some alternate strategy. And what we did in our laboratory was we used certain plants, we used their plant parts, we formulated, we used different solvents for the extraction, we used their different concentration, employed them, and studied the oviposition. We also studied the mortality, but I have not incorporated it here. And why I have written this in red is aqueous suspension and aqueous extract. See, we may say the ethanol, or the methanol, or the ether. Now, these are the solvents which themselves are harmful, but the aqueous suspension and aqueous extract, that is where we are using water, these were also significantly effective. That means if we make the extracts in water, they also are very effective. So this is what we need to test and check and explore, whether such chemicals which can be extracted out in water can be useful, can be employed for restricting, for controlling, for managing the insects. So this was a significant finding. of the various plants, if we talk about I think there were about 14 plants here: Peginum harmela, Tephrosia, Trigonella, Prosopis cineraria, Solanum surretans, and Ocimum basilicum were found to be superior over other plants. So their treatments definitely brought down or reduced the oviposition specifically by this pest, that is Callicebrucus chinensis. And it could be concluded from the study that certain plants, because of their biological activity, have potential to be used for pest management. They can prove to be an alternative, cheap, eco-friendly, and non-hazardous substitutes as against chemical insecticides, especially for insects in storehouses to minimize their infestation. And in this case, when we're talking about, because we have studied it against Callicebrucus chinensis. Definitely a lot of work needs to be done before we go for the field work. That is proper identification of potential species, intensive breeding, dosage response relationship has to be worked out very carefully. Simple formulation technology needs to be developed. We need to aware and familiarize the farmers. Yes, now we have tested this. If you can help us, please use this in your field and let us know what the results are. Safety and selectivity, quality control, and prescribe suitable standards for registration, because we just cannot use any chemical. We need to get it registered. So standards for registration of these products is necessary. And then we can go in for field trials. So it is high time. We need to safeguard present and future generations. One possible way is, I would say, use green, eat clean, because we're talking about the food, talking about the food technology. Use green, here I mean the botanicals like we have used, maybe the younger generation, the budding up scientist may be able to explore some other things, some other botanicals, some other good plants which are locally available in their area, which are easily available, which are quite cheap. And of course, it is not necessary that they are grown at a large scale. We can cultivate or culture them in the form of tissue culture in the lab and then provide the farmers with them. So use green, eat clean. I would like to acknowledge my students who have worked for their PhD degree, taking up different plants and botanicals, using them, testing them, and employing them against this particular insect pest. Thank you.
Thank you, Miraman. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your deep knowledge with the dear participants. Now, participants, the session is open for discussion. If you have any difficulties and queries, please that's all the discussion. Anybody?
One thing I would like to highlight here is that unfortunately, the state of Maharashtra is using or consuming the highest level of pesticides, the insecticides.
Please.
Yes, any questions? I would love to answer them. Maybe either you have not liked the deliberation or no questions?
No questions, ma'am. Okay, you cleared each and every point through your speech, and that's why there are no any queries and no any questions arise. Ma'am, thank you very much.
Okay,
thank you for sharing your deep knowledge. And as dear participants, as today the whole world is celebrating the Water Day, on the same line, Meera ma'am guide us how to save the environment against the pesticides used. Thank you very much for sharing the knowledge. and enlighten the topic of the conference. Thank you. Thank you very much. Dear participants, now we will proceed towards the next session by Dr. Geeta Padate ma'am. Sir, Geeta Padate ma'am is there? Ma'am. I call upon Dr. Meena Chaudhary ma'am to welcome Dr. Geeta Padate ma'am. She's not joined yet.
Sir, join झालं.
Geeta Padate ma'am, are you there? Dear participants, we will meet within few minutes.
मैडम हो गए आपने? हाँ सर, हाँ ओके, हाँ एक मिनट में सर कर रहे हैं आपको। गीता पढ़ाते मैडम ज्वाइन कर। Hello, am I audible, madam? Hello, hello. Audible? Yes. So friends, today we are going to our next session. Learning gives creativity. Creativity leads thinking, and thinking provides knowledge. And knowledge makes a person great. Today we have such a great personality with us, Dr. Geeta Padate madam. She is a professor of Department of Zoology from Maharaja Sayajirao University, Vadodara. Her teaching experience is of 35 years and research experience is of 25 years in avian biology, wildlife biology, wetland ecology and biodiversity, coastal biodiversity and many other areas. 13 research students got awarded PhD under her able guidance, and presently 5 research students are carrying out their research work under her able guidance. She has completed 6 projects and 1 project is ongoing. Ma'am has attended several conferences, seminars and workshops, and having 60 plus papers presented in various national and international journals. Friends, she has worked on biodiversity of forests and importance of birds in agriculture ecosystem, biodiversity of wetlands in central Gujarat. This inspired the students of North Maharashtra University, Jalgaon also, and students are now working under her able guidance on ecology and biodiversity of Tornamal. So with this introduction, we are going to listen this dynamic personality, Dr. Geeta Padade, madam. I request madam to deliver her speech.
Thank you very much, madam, for your kind introduction. Am I audible? Am I audible? Can you hear me?
Yes, madam. Yes, yes.
Yes. So thank you very much for your kind words. First of all, I would like to thank Principal Dr. Mangalas for inviting me to give this talk. I'm also thankful to Dr. Meena Chowdhury, the organizing committee members, and all for giving me this opportunity. Sorry for not joining immediately. Several things are going on simultaneously over here, and I'm dealing with several things, and time given to me was 12, so I thought I will finish my other duties or responsibilities by 11:45, and then I will join. Anyway, now I have joined and I'll share my presentation with you. So let me know if you can see my presentation. Hello? Can you see my presentation?
Yes, madam. Yes, yes.
So when Dr. Dr. Meena contacted me to give this talk, I decided, yes, I will definitely give a talk. And what should I talk? She asked me what topic I should I will be talking on. And as the conference is multidisciplinary, I just thought that I will talk about some simple things about biological sciences and what is the involvement of environment in this biological sciences. What was in the past, what is present, and what will be the future. So biological sciences and environment, if we are talking about, in past, the biological sciences depended on environment. Presently, we are depending on environment, and in future also we will depend on the environment. So we have to think about, if biology has to survive, biology has to depend on environment, and biologists need to spread the awareness in protecting the environment. What is this environment? Environment is classified or defined in many different ways. These are the few definitions which I came across while browsing through internet. The first definition says the surroundings or conditions in which a person, an animal, or a plant operates, that is called as environment. And this is what we are in. This environment is the one which we are interested in. The environment, in other words, is also defined as the circumstances, the objects or conditions by which one is surrounded. If you are in a classroom, then the classroom becomes your environment. So quite often we have to think about such environments too. Another definition is the complex of physical, chemical, and biotic factors, such as climate and living things. These are the environment. They act upon an organism or an ecological complexion, and ultimately they determine the form of the ecosystem and the survival of a species. So this is also equally important for biologists. Further definition says that the aggregates of social and cultural conditions that influence an individual or a community, that is also an environment. So these are the few definitions of environment in which we are interested in. Other two definitions are not for us. So what is present? The world's growing population places great pressure on environmental resources. Growing population. It is the growing population of Homo sapiens and the plants and animals which are depending on or which are required by Homo sapiens. So the world's growing population has great pressure on the environmental resources. How do we meet our growing needs of resources while safeguarding them for future generation? Now here a question arises, do we want to safeguard them for our future generation, or we want to deplete these resources for ourselves only? These questions need to be understood. Our research seeks to understand the processes driving evolution and maintenance of biodiversity, and to predict and mitigate the future impacts of anthropogenic changes. We have a unique focus on the relationship between people and the environment, and our findings inform policymakers and practitioners in conservation and environmental regulation, planning and management. Unless the biologist is finding out what is going on in his surroundings, the policymakers will not get information, because a policymaker cannot reach everywhere. So it is the duty of biologists to collect this information and to get and pass it on to policymakers. And if we want to conserve the resources, then there has to be proper regulation of environmental resources, planning for the use of these resources, and management of whatever is present. That is what is required in present. So again, biology. What is biology? Biology is the study of living organism and the sciences behind the life. We do know a lot about, in present, we do know a lot about living organisms and the science behind life. But how this biology originated? The four main branches of biology are botany, human biology, microbiology, and zoology. Many of you must be botanist, zoologist, or microbiologist, and few can be human biologists too, specifically studying human biology. So if we will start with the past, what was there in the past? As per USGS, the dinosaurs went extinct about 65 million years ago. 65 million years ago. That was at the end of Cretaceous period. We all know this very well. They ruled the earth for about 165 million years. This is not the biology, but this is what the biology which we are studying at present. And we have to learn a lot from this past. What Natural History Museum says, the fossil record shows that for the first 175 million years of their existence, dinosaurs took on a huge variety of forms as the environment changed and new species evolved. So what happened for 175 million years? Okay, Natural History Museum says 175, whereas USGS says 165 million years. When you are counting about 165, 175 millions of years, this number is not important. But yes, it is millions of years, which is mounting to more than 150 millions of years. So during that time also there were changes in the environment. And when these changes were taking place, simultaneously new species were evolving. The new species which were evolving were suited to this new conditions. Dinosaurs that failed to adapt, they went extinct. And there was mass extinction. But then when they became extinct 66 million years ago, over a relatively short time. This 66 million years, the Natural History Museum is calling as relatively short time. So during the 60 million years of time, the dinosaurs disappeared completely, and except few birds, most of the dinosaurs, they disappeared. Many other animals also died out, including pterosaurs, large marine reptiles, and ammonites. So extinction we call as the natural process. Although the number of dinosaur species was already declining. This suggests a sudden catastrophic event sealed their fate, something that caused unfavorable changes to the environment to occur more quickly than dinosaurs and other creatures could adapt. So yes, this was the time when biology, the study of life, was not existing. But when it came into existence, we will look into that. What caused the Cretaceous extinction? The exact nature of this catastrophic event is still open to scientific debate. Evidence suggests an asteroid impact. That was the main culprit. Volcanic eruption that caused large-scale climate change may also have been involved, together with more gradual changes in Earth's climate that happened over millions of years. Now look at this. Large-scale climate change may have been involved. Climate change, together with more gradual changes in Earth's climate. Gradual changes in Earth's climate. That happened over millions of years. This has happened over millions of years. So during that time, whatever climatic changes were occurring, they were happening over millions of years. Whatever the cause, the huge extinction that ended the age of dinosaur left gaps in ecosystem around the world. These were subsequently filled by the only dinosaurs to survive, that is birds and then mammals, both of which went on to evolve rapidly. So there was time for birds and mammals to evolve. And evolution is a continuous process, but it takes millions of years. So when dinosaurs they ruled for millions of years, and gradually when they disappeared over millions of years too. So this is very interesting information which I came across. If all Earth time from very beginning of dinosaur to today, we compress into 365 days. When the dinosaurs were evolved, we are not talking about life on Earth. We are talking about evolution of dinosaur on Earth. So if all Earth time from the very beginning of the dinosaur to today were compressed in 365 days, that is 1 calendar year. The dinosaur appeared on January 1st and they became extinct by 3rd week of September. So out of this 1 year calendar, they ruled the Earth for almost 9 months, we can say. If we are using same time scale, the Earth would have formed approximately 18.5 years earlier. So we can say that dinosaur ruled the Earth in 19th year of the formation of Earth. Using the same scale, if we look at the Homo sapiens, they are on Earth only since December 31. That is on the New Year's Eve. So how much time we are there on the Earth is very, very small. That is eve of the New Year, 365th day. So compare that, how long dinosaurs were there and how long human being has been there on the Earth. The dinosaurs' long period of dominance certainly makes them unqualified successes in the history of life on Earth. So in that eve of 31st December, or we can say New Year Eve, the Homo sapiens evolved from primates. We have seen this picture many places, and how the Homo sapiens evolved from a bushman and evolved into a man who started using weapons. But still, the biology had not come into existence. So we move to the recent past, where the man started moving around all over the world and his intelligence started developing. And he started exploring the flora and fauna around him. Flora was exploited because he was moving around and maybe he was feeding on whatever was edible. And some of the plant species must have helped him in curing some of the diseases which he was facing. So side by side with this, a science of medicine developed first. And once the science of medicine developed and the intelligence continued to grow, then it was the science of taxonomy. Probably this was the science which developed first, or science of biology, the taxonomy, or which developed first in biology. Some of the contents I have taken from this book on history of taxonomy, which gives more details. I'm not going to talk about much more details. But if we talk about taxonomy as the beginning of biology, then there were two eras. We know it very well: pre-Linnean taxonomy and Linnean era. So what happened in pre-Linnean era? Aristotle was the Greek philosopher who started classification, and some of his groups are still used today, like vertebrates and invertebrates. In zoology, we still talk about vertebrates and invertebrates. He called them as animals with blood and animals without blood. Vertebrates he classified further as live-bearing and egg-bearing, whereas the invertebrate he classified as animals without blood, and he classified them in the groups Insecta, Crustacea, and Testacea, which we call now mollusk. So his era was, or he worked from 384 BC to 322 BC. Then was the era where mostly plant taxonomics came up. And there are several scientists or taxonomies you can see over here. There was Theophrastus, who was a student of Aristotle, and during the period of 370 to 285 BC, he classified the plants which were known to them, and he wrote De Historia Planetarum, which contained 480 species. Then came Dioscorides, a Greek physician who traveled widely in the Roman and Greek world, and he collected information about 600 species of plant, and he wrote De Materia Medica. So here the plant species which were identified were mainly involved in medicine. They were used for medicine. And his book was used in medicine till 16th century and was copied several times. Then came the work, still, this is the beginning of biology, I would say. Then came Plinius. He also wrote many books, and his Naturalis Historia was a work of 160 volumes in which he described several plants and gave them Latin names. So these are the works of pre-Linnean era, or how the biological sciences must have started. Then came the age of herbalist, the person who grows and sells herbs. So during this period also, the herbs and shrubs which were of medicinal importance were given more important. So medical science or treatment with plants and the taxonomy started growing simultaneously. And some of the names of herbalists have been used by Linnaeus in giving his trivial nomenclature of various species. If we look at early taxonomies, it was not until the end of 16th century that taxonomy work became original enough to replace the ancient Greek work. One of the reasons for this was development of optic lenses. Now, this was the era when the facilities started increasing. The various instruments were developed. So first thing was optic lenses. This made it possible to study details of the different species. Collection of the specimen became part of the growing scientist, and in biological department, till recently, we have been collecting specimen for studying and teaching our students regarding plants as well as animals. But now, because of over exploitation and environmental changes, where number of plants and species, wild plants and wild species is decreasing, we have stopped this practice of collecting the specimen. So the early taxonomics gave the emphasis on collection of specimen, which continued till recently, we can say that. One of the earliest authors, Cisalpino from Italy, is considered as the first taxonomics. And in 1583, he wrote De Plantis, a work that contained 1,500 species. His classification was based on growth habit, how the plants are growing. Some groups that he recognized are still acknowledged, like the plant families Brassicaceae and Asteraceae. Then came Joseph Pitton in France, who gave botanical classification and that came to rule the botanical taxonomy until the time of Carl Linnaeus. He could identify 900 species. So the number of species which were identified started increasing. Then came the Linnean era, starting point of modern taxonomy, and he gave the trivial names to the species, and we are following his nomenclature now for different species. So early biology was mainly depending on taxonomy, started with early biological studies started with taxonomy and medical sciences, use of plant in medicine. And this was the time when the scientists who were working on this field had nothing to worry about the environment or climate. I will not go in details of Linnean era because we know this very well. With an expanded knowledge of the global fauna and flora through 17th and 18th century, scientific expeditions, a large number of new species were found and named. Linnaeus counted 8,530 species of flowering plant in 1753. So what is there in present? If we look at the present, large plants and animal species are almost identified. At present, the taxonomy is considered as tedious, old, boring subject, but it is one of the very interesting subject if you are studying it. Small plants and small animals need to be studied. There are a large number of small plants and small animals which are present in remote area, which have not been exploited. Man cannot reach everywhere, or biologists cannot reach in all the different habitats. So there are several plants and animal species which are yet to be identified. With the development of modern technology, a new branch has also evolved, and this new branch we call as molecular taxonomy. And because of this molecular taxonomy, names of several species have changed. I'm giving you here two very common examples. The Rana tigerina, which was dissected extensively during my college days and following days, its name has been, we have stopped dissecting Rana tigerina because their population has decreased. It is not because of the dissections the population of Rana tigerina has decreased, but the men started eating frog legs, and that led to decline in their numbers. So this species, Rana tigerina, is now known as Haplobatrachus tigerinus. The new technique developed is taking us to find out how close or how far the two species are from each other in molecular aspects. So Rana tigerina, the frog, which we have used extensively in zoology labs, have now become Haplobatrachus tigerinus. It was present in large number, and thousands and thousands of them were used up for dissection every year. And it had very, its breeding rate is also very high, was very high, I would say, because now the environment in which it breeds, such environments are not available. What they need is water, and in many areas, the water availability of water has changed. When it rains too much, or if it is not raining, then everything is dry. So Rana tigerina has become Haplobatrachus tigerinus, whereas the common Hanuman langur, the gray colored monkeys with black face which we see around, has changed its name from Presbytis entellus to Semnopithecus entellus. So in present era or during present day, what we see is, because of development of modern technology, the new branches have evolved. Molecular taxonomy is there. We go for DNA barcoding and we study the species, and that has led to changes in the names, scientific names of several species. And several other branches of biology has evolved. These are some of the branches which you know it very well. This just I'm showing you. I will come to this later on again. But there are several branches which have evolved, I would say, which are related to biological sciences, or they are related to environment science. So what is environment? We talk about present environment. All of us, we talk about it. We know what environment is. And in present day, we are worried about ozone depletion, or the disturbance in ozone layer. As far as environment is concerned, this layer high up in the atmosphere protects us from the sun's dangerous ultraviolet radiation. But when ozone is close to the ground, it is bad for human health. Ozone can damage lung tissue, and it is especially dangerous to people with respiratory illness like asthma. Ozone can also cause itchy, burning eyes and cause skin cancer too. So in environment, in present day, the ozone layer is disturbed and we are worried about that. Another thing which we are worried about is smog. Smog is unhealthy to humans as well as animals, and it can kill plants too. Smog is also ugly. It makes the sky brown or gray. Smog is common in big cities with a lot of industry and traffic. Cities located in basins surrounded by mountains may have smog problems because the smog is trapped in the valley and cannot be carried away by wind. Los Angeles, California, Mexico City, China, Beijing and the area, and even Delhi have high smog levels, especially during winters when the cold air is not rising up. The smog, what is smog? It is air pollution that reduces visibility. The term smog was first used in the early 1900s to describe a mix of smoke and fog. From where the smoke came? During that period, the smoke came from burning of coal. And this was first observed in Britain, where during winters, wood was burnt to generate heat. And winters are very severe in Britain. So this smoke which was produced by burning of coal, that bound to the other pollutant created smog. That smog is referred as London smog. Smog is also common in industrial area. The smog which we see in California, that is industrial smog, and that is also referred as California smog if you refer to the literature. So smog was common in industrial area too, and it remains a familiar sight in many cities today. In Delhi during winters, smog is very common. The reason for the smog is different. It is vehicular pollution, even burning of what we say stands in agricultural field also adds to the smog. A type of smog is photochemical smog, which is produced when sunlight reacts with nitrogen oxide and at least one volatile organic compound in the atmosphere. Nitrogen oxide come from car exhaust. That is what is common in Delhi. And quite often during winter, Delhi is closed down. The schools are closed down for a week or so when smog is increasing. This comes, so nitrogen oxide come from car exhaust, coal power plants and factory emissions. So that is also one of the concern of present man. VOCs are also released from gasoline paints and many cleaning solvents. When sunlight hits these chemicals, they form airborne particles and ground level ozone or smog. Most of the smog we see is photochemical smog. These days, it is very difficult to see anything like this, the clear blue sky. In the cities, what we see is the smog. This is a smog. I don't know if you can see, there is a mountain somewhere in the background. The city's climate has become like this. It looks foggy all 365 days unless it is raining. This is what is a photograph taken from internet of China. So you can see the visibility. Under the smog, the visibility becomes poor. This is smog in Delhi. You can see India Gate in background. So these are some of the concerns of environment which we are facing today. And then, of course, there are greenhouse gases which result in climate change. So greenhouse gases are methane, water, and carbon dioxide. The energy which travels from the sun to the earth as shortwave radiation is reflected back as long wave radiation. And that increases the, here you can see the short wave radiations are reflected back as long wave radiation. These are, when the proportion of these gases in atmosphere increases, it results into climate change. So climate change is a change in average temperature and cycles of weather over a long period of time. Since 1880, scientists have kept thermometer-based records of global surface temperature, and you can see the graph where the temperature during earlier days was almost constant, and slowly somewhere around 1990s, the temperature started increasing, and you can see the graph going up and up. So what is happening to the global temperature? The planet is becoming warmer, the climate is changing. And you can see over here how the temperature has increased in recent years. Around 1940, the temperature started increasing, and you can see how much increase is seen by 2020. Climate change disrupts the weather pattern and causes extreme weather events to become more common. These include hurricane activity, droughts, floods, forest fire, etc. Today, when I'm talking to this, there is a storm. Hurricane is called, it is called hurricane in Atlantic, it is called typhoon in Pacific, and we call, in Indian Ocean, we call it as storm, tropical storm. So at present, a storm is going on in Indian Ocean. And if you have followed the news, that has crossed Andaman Nicobar Islands, and there were heavy rains in Andaman Nicobar Islands, and it has moved towards Burma. So the hurricane season in Northern Hemisphere is considered to be from May to November. And here, this year, we have started with the storms much earlier in month of March. So frequency of hurricanes or storms have increased not only in Indian Ocean, but also in Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. And when there is climate change, there is increase in the temperature, and the temperature of seawater is also increasing. And this increased seawater temperature gives energy to the formation of storm or hurricane or typhoon. So because of climate change, the seawater temperature is increasing, the evaporation of water is also there. And when there is evaporation of water, the moisture content in the atmosphere is also increasing. These are all the situations which develop low pressure areas, and this low pressure area slowly get changed into tropical cyclone, and the severity depends upon how much energy is provided by warm ocean. So because of climate change, the frequency of hurricane is increased, frequency of droughts has increased, floods have increased, and forest fires have also increased. In California, every year there are areas where forest fire occurs, and more and more carbon dioxide and particulate matter is added to the atmosphere. Recently, in Brazil also, there was forest fire. This forest fire was man-made, but it destroyed large area of forest. And similarly, couple of years back, there was fire in Australia too. Wildfires had taken place in Australia, and you must have seen the photographs of how the wild animals and plants were burnt live in the region. So climate change disrupts the weather pattern. As the global temperature has increased, so the number of reported natural disasters are also, sorry, this figure is showing number of reported natural disasters. So here till 1960, very few natural disasters were taking place. But after 1960, the number of natural disasters have increased. So why is climate change a problem? Over millions of years, species become adapted to survive in the condition in which they live. A stable climate supports this process and allows living things to thrive. If the climate changes quickly, that is, we have to think about the New Year's Eve when human beings have evolved. So in that short period, if the climate is changing quickly, how much time it has taken for evolution, and if in short time, if the climate is changing, the organisms do not have enough time to adapt to new conditions and may no longer be able to survive. That is the main concern about climate change. So when the sea level, when the temperature is rising, the glaciers are melting, and the ice in the Antarctic and Arctic and Antarctic are also decreasing. Where does this melting water goes? Ultimately, it reaches sea, and there is rise in sea level. Many of the coastal cities are predicted that they will undergo, they will be underwater in near future. Many of the islands will disappear underwater. So the rising water level can cover coastal areas, destroying habitats and displacing whole population from low-lying areas. The rising sea levels are driven by two main processes: ice melt and thermal expansion. As ocean water gets warmer, it expands, causing sea level to rise. And yes, the glaciers, they melt, and that adds to water in the ocean. The increase in global temperature is causing a reduction in sea ice. This causes problem for animals that depend on the ice to hunt, mate, and sleep. So we are all aware of this, but what are we doing for this? That is the main question. The bright surface of the ice reflects 80% of the sunlight that heats it back into space. This keeps the polar region cool and moderates the global climate. So on the surface of Earth, if we look at how sun rays are reaching, it is the equator where maximum sun rays are received, or vertical sun rays are received, and it is this region where the energy in the form of heat from sun is absorbed. And if you go to poles, at poles, these sun rays are reflected by ice, and because of the angle of receiving sun rays too. And because of that, the polar regions are quite cold, but there is global air circulation and there is movement in the sea water too, which distributes energy, warm energy from equator towards pole, and some cold from polar region is brought towards the equator. So there are ocean gyres which mix the warm and cold waters of tropical and polar regions, and there are atmospheric circulation where the global equatorial and polar air are brought closer and they are mixed and energy is redistributed. So 80% of the sunlight is reflected back from the polar regions. When the area of sea ice is reduced, less sunlight will be reflected back into space. This causes more concern, warming, and this causes more ocean warming and reduces the sea ice even further. The orange line in this diagram picture marks the average minimum sea ice coverage from 1981 to 2010. The white ice shows the minimum sea ice coverage in 2020. So over 10 years, how much decrease is there in the ice we can see because of global warming. The difference between two exceeds 1 million miles. And this is what is happening: floods at some place, fires at other place, and melting of snow or ice at other place. So different region of the world, they are facing different problems. So climate change can be caused gradually by natural processes or suddenly by large events. And in recent years, the number of large events have increased. And also, number of small events which together can have huge effect that are increased. And altogether, they add to the climate change. So climate change can be caused gradually by natural process or suddenly by large events such as massive meteorite strike or volcanic activity which happened in past when dinosaur became extinct. However, at present, what is happening is the rapid climate change which we are experiencing. And now it is due to three major human activity, that is the energy production, then deforestation. These are the activities. And if we look at which are the countries, which are the regions which are producing this effect, then it is North America and Europe almost equally. Asia is also responsible for the same. And in Asia, if we see, it is China which is producing more gases which are affecting climate change. I'll skip some of the slide. Government is making policy, trying to make laws and policies that reduce the amount of greenhouse gas emission. But how many of us are following this laws? That is one question which needs to be asked. Businesses can change their processes to run more sustainably. This is what we have to do. We can all make choices in our own lives that reduces our carbon footprint. So we have to use the technologies which are producing less greenhouse gases. And we can also use our voices to let business and government know that we want them to act quickly to reduce their impact on climate change. So for the last point, what is required is awareness. And a biologist and an environmentalist, these are the people who can spread awareness. I would like to mention over here that I met a well-learned engineer, an elderly person who was for development. He said that what is wrong if you cut down few trees for the development? So do we have to cut down trees for development? Is it few trees? How much time has taken for those few trees to grow? We are growing trees at other places. The industries have been asked, okay, if you are cutting trees in 1 acre, you go and plant trees at some other place in 1 acre. But how much time it has taken for those trees in 1 acre to grow? And same trees, if they are planted in other areas, how much time they will take to grow? That is the concern. We have to start acting immediately. So we need to make choices in our lives to reduce our carbon footprint. And because of this, newer opportunities are arising. Newer technologies are developing, and more technologies needs to be developed that will which will lead to transition to a low carbon economy in the years ahead, bringing with it many opportunities so that the environment is protected and the biology or plants and animals which are present in this are protected. Innovation is the process for turning an idea into a solution that solves a problem. Transition to low carbon economies will provide lots of opportunities for innovation. So when we talk about future of biology and environment, this is what the role comes, that technologies needs to be developed which will lead to transition to low carbon economics. There will be a need for people leaving education to do things differently, to come up with new ideas for products and technologies. Simply awareness, spreading awareness is not enough, but new technology needs to be developed for protecting our environment. And new job sectors will be created, new skills needs to be created, and new job market needs to be created. So at global level, we are having conference of parties where 197 countries have signed up to United Nations Framework on Convention of Climate Change. And this UNFCCC aims to prevent human activity from causing dangerous levels of climate change. Now I will come again to recent conditions. We know that climate change is occurring and what is happening all over the world. But during COVID condition, when Homo sapiens were at halt, I would say Homo sapiens were at halt, they were locked in their houses. What happened? We have seen, there were reports that Himalayas were seen clearly from Jalandhar, Ganga water had cleaned up, and wild animals were moving around freely in cities. All of you must have either have seen this or you have experienced these conditions. So during that time, whatever environmental problems were there, many of them had come down. But post-COVID situation is what? I came across this report, air pollution over China returns to pre-COVID levels. China's official interim air quality standard is 35 micrograms, though World Health Organization recommends only 5 micrograms. See the difference. It has come back to this 35 micrograms in China. The smog-prone northern region of Beijing, Tianjin, and Hebei had particulate matter, which is referred as PM 2.5, concentration of 43 micrograms for 2021, down by 5.7% compared to the previous year. This is a report of 30 January 2020. And if you look at this image of the particulate matter in the skies of China, this is the level of February 2019. You can see this, which has decreased in February 2020 when lockdown had started, and it has come back. Once the lockdown has been lifted, it has come back to higher level. So this is what is happening. We were, for a short period, we were not producing the greenhouse gases or particulate matter, and smog was not there. But again, we are going back to same old conditions. Here, this is a photograph of Guwahati, which has been taken by me, photograph of Brahmaputra River, which I have only taken in February 2022, last month only. And you can see the muddy waters of Brahmaputra River in Guwahati. And if I don't know if you can see right in the center, you can see something floating. What is it? It is Gangetic dolphin. So the pollution is coming back to our rivers in 2022. And our rivers are all muddy and with pollution. So the man, how it has, man has evolved. At present, man is evolved with, and he is busy with his mobile phone. But in mobile phone also we are getting many videos where they are trying to convey the message that environment needs protection. But what we do is we simply forward this message because this is very good message. But are we following this message before forwarding? We have to see to it that we are also following. There was one video which I saw, I could not trace it but that video showed that a family is sitting on the dining table having their breakfast. The son is ready to go to school with his oxygen cylinder. So a situation may come when it is that whoever is going out of house will have to carry an oxygen cylinder, and the girl's daughter is not ready with the for going to the school. So parents are asking, why aren't you going to school? She says that brother has used up my oxygen cylinder and I do not have oxygen to go to school. And then the parents are busy ordering it online, and the oxygen cylinder is delivered to home by drone, and then this girl goes to school. So I'm sure this situation will not come unless we take care of our environment. We in Baroda, our students have been involved. You know it very well that sparrows have declined everywhere. So in Baroda, we have our group of students who is spreading awareness every year. Just day before yesterday, that is on Sunday, World Sparrow Day was celebrated. And our students are involved in distributing artificial nest boxes. The sparrows have declined. Why sparrows have declined? People say that they have declined because of microwaves, or which are there in because of the microwave mobile towers which are emitting microwaves. No, the number of sparrows declined long before the number of microwave mobile towers increased. One reason for this can be that we have stopped allowing them to enter in our houses. In English, the sparrow is called as house sparrow, and house sparrow need houses. In cities, we are having apartments. In cities, we are having malls. In cities, we are having office complexes where everything is air conditioned. We do not allow sparrow to enter in our house. And as sparrow is not entering in our house, sparrow is not safe. We are providing now, because of awareness, we are providing them with artificial nest boxes. But artificial nest boxes we are not keeping in our houses. We are keeping them outside our houses where predation pressure is very, very high. But still, the number of sparrows have started increasing in Baroda. In some areas, their population is very good. So these are the things which we need to develop. And after reading this news, one of my relatives asked me, how you have done this? Okay, we have done this. My students have done this by devoting their time for last 10 to 12 years. They are trying to create awareness, and every Sparrow Day, World Sparrow Day, they are distributing nest boxes to the citizens of Baroda. So it is not whatever we want to do. If we want our biodiversity to remain with us, we have to start working towards that. So we need to protect our biodiversity to protect ourselves. Otherwise, what will happen that a day will come when with Homo sapiens, the Homo sapiens with oxygen cylinders will have species like mosquitoes or species like pigeons and rats, which have adapted to the human practices. So only such species will be surviving with Homo sapiens. And then we will have all different kinds of diseases which are spread by such vectors. We need to protect our environment to protect ourselves and delay the next mass extinction. What is required is delay in next extinction process. And what is the future? If we do not take care, we will be sitting on the computer and we will be working from home on the computer only. So future is for probably synthetic biology, a field of science that involves redesigning organism for useful purpose. When we talk about useful purpose, the useful is only for Homo sapiens. So redesigning organism for useful purpose by engineering them to have new abilities. We will have to develop organisms which will survive in change climatic conditions. The synthetic biology researchers and companies around the world are harnessing the power of nature to solve problems in medicine, manufacturing, and agriculture. We have biologically modified crops too, and we are facing the problem of this crop too. The synthetic biology, which is the future, will have various components where biology is important. And if biology is there, then only we can go for the bioinformatics, where mathematics will be required, chemistry will be required, biotechnology and engineering. All these fields will be required. So synthetic biology is the study of living beings, and it mainly deals with its functions. Biological and chemical systems have overlap as they have both comprise of chemicals. During the early part of 20th century, chemists started to design and produce new chemical substances, and consequently a new field of synthetic chemistry has been established. It involves designing, creating new biological substances, and most of all these will be useful only to the human being directly or indirectly. I'll skip this. So I will just show you some of my observation. This is what has happened in our cities, the concrete jungle. And recently I visited Little Run of Kutch. You must have heard about Little Run of Kutch, which is famous for wild ass. I'm not showing you wild ass, but these are the nest of flamingos. Flamingos have started. They are known to nest in greater run of Kutch, but for last few years, they are nesting even in little run of Kutch. And you can see white patches lying at many places. These all are the eggs, abundant eggs of flamingo. So I visited this just after Diwali, and a student took me to this place, and we were wondering why flamingos have left their eggs unhatched. But you can see that the area is, in this area, the water has evaporated. The flamingo, to rear its egg, or its chick, needs water, and the water had dried up. You can still see this nest. Now, these nests were constructed on the edges of salt pans. So between this, you can see that they are at the border of an area. So here, in between this, there are salt pans. This is the site of Little Run when there is no water, and after rains, the water is accumulated in this region, and the flamingos, they nest in this area. And what we saw, when we visited this place, when we visited this nesting site, we could see large number of eggs which were left behind by, or which were left, were not incubated, and they had not hatched. So we opened some of the eggs, and what we could find was the chicks had died, and this is the stage at which the chick had died. And there were several eggs we opened because these species are protected under Wildlife Protection Act. We were not to touch them, but we had a forest officer with us, and with his permission as well as with his interest, we opened the eggshell, and we could see that the development had taken place, but the development was not completed, and before completing the development, the parents had left the nesting area. What happens in Little Run of Kutch? That is, this happened, just this scene is 1 week after we visited the Little Run of Kutch. Now here the flamingo nests are under water. Because of the irregularities in rains, after I left, usually it rains up to August, September in Little Run of Kutch. And that time such water is accumulated, and once the water level decreases, the salt workers, they come there, and then they develop salt pan in the region. So when I visited the place, the worker had just arrived, and they were preparing to produce or to set the salt pans. See, and after I left, there were heavy rains in the region, and you can see that the whole area is under water. The salt pan workers were about to start their work, but because of rains, the nests were under water. And if this rain had occurred a month earlier, probably the chicks would have hatched and survived too. But there was delay in rains, or whatever climatic conditions were there, a huge lot of flamingos, they had laid the eggs, they had started nesting, but they abandoned the nest, and the breeding was unsuccessful. Such things can happen to many, many species if there is climate change. And definitely the biology, the species, different species of plants and animals will be affected. This film shows the digging apparatus where the the tractor is carrying equipment to dig the soil. Just about 2 or 3 feet below the soil, water is available. So they pump out this water and they distribute to all these salt plant. You can see the margins of salt pan too. But after the rains, untimely, unseasoned rain, this is what had happened. If this had taken place earlier, then it would have helped in survival of flamingos. So this is just an example. So many species of plants and animals, they are facing this problem. And if we want to save our biology, if we want to save our environment, if we want to save our biodiversity, we need to take care of the environment. Environmental and biological science, and for this, environmental and biological sciences graduates are required. They have to develop skills in many different fields which are related to biological sciences. They may not restrict themselves to only botany or only zoology, but there are other related fields that is the future which will be required in this changing environmental conditions. So environmental and biological science graduates are supposed to be the experts in science behind life. Working in a range of fields, the scientists use their skills to explore the world's diverse species and ecosystem. This knowledge helps us to understand the issues affecting the Earth's wildlife and environment and work towards protecting and managing it. So there are several careers related to biological sciences which are emerging up. I was just browsing through one of the universities abroad, what career they are offering, what subjects they are offering in biological sciences, and I came across these subjects. Now in India also, we have to think about introducing this subject so that we have experts in diverse field, and all of them together can help in protecting our environment and protecting our biodiversity, so we can have a clean environment for our survival. So many of these careers which are available are for benefit of human being, but we have to start thinking about benefit of other biodiversity present around us too. So if we do not take care, a day will come when man will work like robot, and there will be the other biodiversity will not be there for even for recreation. Thank you very much. So I'll end my talk over here. I hope I have not taken too much of time. Hello. Mainly, I have given my views regarding past, present, and future of biological sciences and environment.
एक मिनिट थांबा मॅडम. हा, बोला आता.
Hello. Yes. Thank you, madam, for your deep knowledge. Your views on the subject will definitely help in fulfilling the aims of our conference. Padate madam explained the topic environment, past, present, and future very nicely, soundly, and silently. Every word is understandable, and we are really very much thankful to the madam for giving such an elaborate knowledge about the environment with the practical videos, and it shows the madam's research area. Really, we are very thankful to madam. Madam started with the dinosaurs in the past of the environment, and then present, future scope of the environment with molecular taxonomy, synthetic biology, and every points. Really, we are very much thankful to the madam for such a nice, knowledgeable presentation. Thank you very much, madam, again. And now it is time for lunch break. So, dear participants, we will meet at 2 p.m. Thank you very much and bye.